Mandatory lunch? Our company changed the policy to require that we have a 30 minutes unpaid lunch. It was optional before. My department requires that 2 people be on duty at all times, and we often only have 2 scheduled per shift. We ended up sending the labor laws showing that lunch must be unpaid to HR, and they created an option to change our deducted lunch break to interrupted, thus receiving pay for it. Because of the policy change, the company is now paying all 16 people in my department an extra 2.5 hours of overtime pay weekly for working the same hours. A friend had a job, 9 hours on site, with a 1-hour lunch break. It was a manufacturing facility with security. You had to be badged and logged in and out at the security desk. They sent a revision to their security policy saying that nobody was to leave the premises on their break. You had to bring a lunch. You couldn't go out to get one. Apparently many people were taking lunch at the same time, and were late getting to their workstations due to the lineups at security. Let's say lunch was noon to 1 p.m. They would be on site at 12:55, but it could take them 10 or 15 minutes to get back in. So my friend's colleague asked HR, "Is this a paid lunch?" Quote, "No. So it's my time then. Not time I have sold to you. Right?" Quote, "And if it's my time, then you have no authority as to how I spend it. If you are refusing to allow me to leave on my own time, then you are committing an act of false imprisonment. It's not my problem if you don't have enough security guards to let people back in efficiently." They changed the policy and had the roaming security guys spend a couple hours at the desk midday, logging people returning from lunch off-site. More accurate, our company was robbing us of compensation for taking our lunch breaks away and was previously making us work off the clock. But we haven't filed a DOL complaint for the back wages yet. At least that's what it should be. Check your state laws. They may or may not be allowed to offer this. And if they are not, a penalty may apply for them not allowing you to take an unpaid meal break. Which means they could actually be spending less money and have a third person schedule. Or am I doing the math wrong? Should sue for back pay too. So, if they get testy about the OT, and someone will eventually, here's your reply. Sounds to me like the company intentionally understaffed, and needs to hire another person to cover breaks, absence, and illness. Or, they need to adjust their policies and the workloads such that it's actually possible for employees to take their mandated breaks. Take a close look at those laws. Might be that the company got in trouble for letting people go without breaks. Some places have laws on the subject to prevent bosses screwing people out of their lunchtime. Seems like a detrimental policy change on the company's part, but a great win for the employees. More pay for the same work. Free lunch indeed. As ironic as it might sound, your company's policy change aimed at saving money just led to additional overtime payments. Talk about a strategic backfire. You got your head all twisted. My guy, they have been stealing from you by making you work while off the clock. You can't stop being a wage slave if you're happy being a wage slave. Were you expected to take a working lunch, or did you get to leave, stop working? Breaks should typically be paid and lunches unpaid, 8 to 5 being 9 hours. You get paid for 8. Work for 7.5. Ideally with the option to leave the building, but maybe not the site, during your breaks. Even then, a break should be a chance to grab something from your car or a convenience store so you have options beyond bathroom, smoking, and vending machines. Assuming your schedule is more like 8:30 to 5, and you can't unplug for your lunch, You are effectively working overtime by not getting the lunch. Some states will also pay overtime for any hours over 8, so if you work 4 days a week due to holiday closure, you may still earn 2 hours of overtime. The overtime being department-wide may raise a flag somewhere, but good, either you should get a third-person offset to cover lunches and breaks, or they should pay you extra for the lack of flexibility in your location throughout the day. The same deal as us. Job requires 2 people to be there at the same time. And we rarely are more than 2 per shift. BJT, the 30-minute break is mandatory by law. The solution of the company forness though is to split the break into 2 by 15 minutes with a 10 to 15 minute work in between. And nothing I can do about it. Sucks because if I heat up some food, I get to eat most of it after it got cold. Sounds like a win for your department. You might want to give HR a big thank you note for the bonus overtime pay. Years ago, when I worked at a somewhat local psychiatric facility, my claim to fame arrived in a completely unexpected manner. I had charge of either the children or the adolescents that evening. I can't remember which, and had 2 techs that were also on unit with me. It was supper time, and we had taken the patients to the cafeteria for their meal. I did not like what was being served, so I opted to pop out quickly to grab something. I asked my coworkers if they wanted anything, clocked out, ran up the road to the local Burger King, and was back within 9 minutes. I know because they pulled the time clock. When I walked back in, the head nurse was tearing one of the other nurses a new one. And about the time I walked in, she pointed to me and said, "Right there she is. She just popped out and popped right back in." Head nurse had a complete come apart and ranted about not leaving the premises for meals. Now, knowing that we could and others did, knowing this was the first time I ever had, and knowing that my meal breaks were mine to do with as I pleased, I responded in kind. She doubled down and went to the dawn. That's when the time clock got pulled. I was gone literally 9 minutes. The dawn told head nurse she took longer bathroom breaks and to either shut up or face disciplinary action. See, I always ordered myself something, and I always asked if anyone else wanted anything. Dawn knew this. Head nurse had not been present when I left, and so she was not asked. And after that stunt I never asked her again. 9 minutes. I don't miss that place.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.